That is, of course, James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, lots to cover today. You want to start with Mark Carney? Where do you want to start?
You know what? Let's start with the apprehended palace revolution in Quebec City, because I got a sneaking suspicion we're going to be feeling the shockwaves of that sooner rather than later. Okay. And I think it's far from over, buddy. I think we're just seeing the beginning of this. We saw earlier this week, André Laforest, who was the Minister of Municipal Affairs, announced that she's leaving politics and she's going to run for mayor of Saguenay. Okay, that's fine, that's cool. It's nobody's going to begrudge you that. But today we see a former CAQ cabinet minister named Pierre Dufour, who's an MNA for the region of Abitibi-Témiscamingue, and this has been a huge issue for local politicians at every level of government in that region with the Legault government, because for whatever reason it would seem that M. Legault thinks that the people from Abitibi-Témiscamingue are not capable of running their own affairs. They don't have a place, and this is a very potentially rich in resources area. But the thing is, they don't have a voice at the cabinet table. The ministers responsible for that region, one is from Outaouais, and I think the other one, is from around Quebec City. But the bottom line here is they've been shut out. So M. Dufour says in an interview with La Presse, listen, if we don't make it onto the cabinet this time with this cabinet shuffle, I'm really going to be rethinking about my future with the CAQ. Maybe I'll run for mayor of Val-d'Or. As a ransom note, it was pretty straightforward, Aaron. I mean, blackmail is such an ugly word, but that's exactly what it was. Anyway, what does Legault do? Well, Legault just turns around, kicks him out of caucus. You know what? I can't have this kind of stuff. We've got to be united, and we've got to be seen to be united, even though it's clear that the caucus, despite its size, is not united. And I have a sneaking suspicion, just this side of a certainty, we're going to see more of these events occur between now and Christmas. I'm not entirely sure I agree with your October, whatever date for Legault's departure. I think he's going to go after the holidays. But that said, this chaos is going to keep swinging out of control. We're going to see this government even paralyzed more than usual in terms of policy. I'm so sorry to say this, to predict this, and I'm even sorry to think that I'm pretty well going to be right. Between now and Christmas, we will see a new identity crisis cooked up by Legault and company to distract from their absolute failure as a government, as an actual government, and a government of adults, if you will. But yeah, this is going from bad to worse, and you really can't sort of say, okay, we'll get to this point, then it'll stop. I'm not seeing where this is going to stop. I think you're going to have a lot of people. It's a big crowd, a caucus of 86 people. I think you're going to have a lot of people who are kind of going to get angry over the fact that, I'm going to be out of a job by next October. If it's your first term, I mean, God help you, right? It's like you may be leaving politics for good or whatever. All the uncertainties. But in the meantime, the people I feel the stories for, of course, are Quebec taxpayers who are it's on. All this is happening on their dime. We need a lot of help. We heard, and indeed we're talking about Mark Carney, the economy. It's all connected. It's all happening in Quebec. And meantime, what are we talking about? We're talking about apprehended mutinies and people leaving in a huff because this government simply cannot find, its own butt if you give it a mirror, a map, and an extra pair of hands.
By the way, my October 27th date for when Premier Legault might, in fact, call it a day, you're suggesting that's way too early then, you're saying, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think, I almost said too optimistic, but yeah, I will just say way too early.
Okay. So then let's move on to talk about Mark Carney. Big announcement today, not one, not two, 9 different sort of, if you want to call them, policy initiatives, which I guess give us an idea what's going to be coming in the budget.
Yeah, well, what I liked about this whole day with Prime Minister Carney is the way they're describing. Well, we're going to be suspending the electric vehicle mandate till further notice. Well, for 6 months, we're going to review it because the auto industry is under the gun right now because of all these Trump tariffs. Believe me, we saw it with the carbon tax. We're going to see it with this whole EV thing. Nothing against EVs. But it ain't going to happen. He doesn't want to alienate his more environmentally conscious caucus members by saying, "I'm scrapping this right here and now." So he'll give them the decent interval. But no, we won't be talking about EV mandates anymore. Given that there's about a bazillion other things that are going to be driving Canadians crazy between now and the end of this year. And the thing is, Aaron, I haven't touched upon it because I wanted to wait for the polls to come out. Ever since Mark Carney announced he was going to rescind the counter tariffs against the U.S., I want to see what the reply would be in various polls. Right off the bat, we have a second poll now. We had Abacus to start. We have Angus Reid, and I know there's some people out there saying, "Well, you know what? Those are conservative-friendly polling." Whatever. They now have the Liberals and the Tories in a dead heat. Okay, the margin of error. The Abacus, though, that really intrigues me. They put out a separate poll, and they found that the whole idea with the whole how can I put it, the Trumpmobile, is that even though it may not be running out of gas, there's knocking under the hood, Aaron, because now the survey they conducted at the end of last month suggests that 6 out of 10 Canadians believe Ottawa's paying too much attention to Donald Trump. There are other things to concentrate on, i.e. the economy, and certainly with the news today, the job situation. And I just tell you, Aaron, I keep listening, and I know it's like a 9-part announcement. I keep hearing all these announcements from Mark Carney, and I'm wondering, it's like, okay, when does stuff happen? Do you have a timeline on this? When does something actually happen? Because right now, I mean, I may have missed something here, but I haven't seen any sort of sea change in how we do things. And we're talking about a budget that's supposed to come down in October. It's kind of crazy, and maybe that represents a disconnect, really, between politics and the people they're supposed to serve. And I apologize in advance, Aaron, if you've already touched upon this topic on the show, and I just didn't hear it. But the biggest story, I think, for most Canadians when it comes to dealing with the federal government is the fact the Canada Revenue Agency has not picked up their phone in at least 3 months. I mean, the entire call center you just got a recorded message. People who have audits being done, people who are waiting for their refunds, people who may owe money, people who have an issue with their taxes. They're simply not picking up the phone. And the union is saying, we're not picking up the phone because we're swamped. They got rid of all these jobs. Oh, we want to cut back on whatever the case may be. It's not happening. And we're not talking about the Ministry of Unicorn Dreams. We're talking about Revenue Canada, where the money actually comes in. So you know what? François Champagne, the finance minister, has said, I'm going to get that solved in 100 days. I'll believe it when I see it. Things are sort of converting into this absolutely perfect storm of chaos that we seem not to be hearing enough about. We're hearing about, les grandes lignes. The only thing I took away today as well from the announcement about the obligatory Buy Canadian policy that Ottawa is going to adopt, and I hate to say it this way, Aaron, I wonder how many government suppliers automatically just increase their pricing by about 30%.
Well, let's hope that's not the guy. I get that, I know. The cynic in us all, of course, makes that come to mind as one of the top first things that's going to happen. But I will say this, Jim, this is the question I started the show with today. Might as well weigh in on this. That Angus Reid, and you mentioned the survey, there's a survey out now that says Canadians are starting to lose interest or lose favor, if you will. Disapproval ratings for Mark Carney are up.
Yeah.
And they're up from June and they're up from July. And my question today, because I'm going to ask this again, is it too soon for Canadians to be making their minds up about Mark Carney?
You know what? It is if Mark Carney had not created these expectations during the election campaign. And you know what really, the thing that really got me angry, and the listeners will know, regular listeners, how angry I was when he announced he was dropping the counter tariff. Yeah. What really got me angry about that wasn't les grandes lignes and, it's inflationary, manufacturers will have a risk. What made me angry, Aaron, was at least 2 times on your show, you asked your listeners, are you buying Canadian to support the country? And you would ask people, are you paying more? And they say, yes, we're paying more, but we don't care because it's our country. And all of a sudden, that went out the window, and it was just kind of suggested in the explanation or the excuse for doing this. That, it was inflationary. People were spending too much money. We knew we were spending too much money. What we didn't know was that the people who were telling us, buy Canadian, do this, support your country, would turn around and say, we don't need to do that anymore, and we're going to do this. And once again, if there was some tangible return on that decision, I'd say fine. But we've got no deal. There's no suggestion there's going to be a deal. And in the meantime, the economy in this country, with or without Donald Trump's interference, looks like it's about to take a very dark turn.
I will ask you one last thing. I didn't want to belabor the point, but since you said that, because the other part of the question I brought up was, okay, if anybody else, let's say Mark Carney was not the prime minister, take a trip down this road with me, okay? And let's say it had been Pierre Poilievre. Would we be, in your opinion, anywhere different than we are right now in terms of our deal with the U.S.?
Oh, well, no, because, I mean, obviously we're not talking about someone who's in the same league. And in fact, I have said on the show, and will repeat, the best thing that ever happened to Mark Carney, apart from Donald Trump's tariffs, is Pierre Poilievre. As long as Pierre Poilievre is leading the official opposition, Mark Carney has an absolute trunk full of, get out of jail free cards a la Monopoly, simply because the other guy is so out of his league, so out of his depth. The Tories definitely need a leader. We'll see if that comes up in January when there's a leadership review. But right now, I mean, whether we like it or not, Mark Carney has an open field. What he does with it is up to him. But the fact is, what he does with it, in the end, affects each and every one of us.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, you have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too, buddy.